Chapter 6170. The vendor did not expect that the thing was really from the Northern Song dynasty. Seeing that the other party was determined to buy it, he didn't care so much and quickly said, "But the thing he bought only cost 300,000, but he is selling it to you for 20 million. It is difficult to find such a black-hearted person in the world." Dal Leon shook his head and smiled. "Oh, people often say that there are people who hate, but there are no people who laugh. I have really seen it with you. You feel uncomfortable that Boss Jew has made so much money. But in my opinion, the fact that Boss Jew can make so much money is entirely his vision and ability. You also know the content of that video. Manager Chen in the video had a chance to pick up this big leak. But his eyes were cloudy and he couldn't see it. Boss Jew saw it, so what? Boss Jew should make the money." After saying that, Dal Leon paused slightly and continued. "Oh, by the way, you can't say that Boss Jew had a bad heart when he sold me this bronze Buddha for 20 million. Because Boss Jew was obviously letting it go. If you let me know if this thing is put up for auction in East Cliff, there is no problem in fetching 7 to 80 million, so not only do I not feel bad about Boss Jew, but I am also very grateful to him. If you see Boss Jew feels uncomfortable making money. So I'm sorry, I can only make you feel uncomfortable. This. The vendor had completely lost the logic of his thinking and language at this moment. He was anxious. His head was covered in sweat and his teeth were clenching. He was so incompetent that he could only subconsciously say, "Well, how about you take a closer look? What if there is something wrong with that thing?" Dal Leon sighed and said to Peter "Boss Jew, it seems that the business environment of this antique street is not friendly. Boss Jew should take care of himself in the future." Peter cupped his hands and said with a smile, "Thank you, Mr. Chen, for reminding me. I think the business environment here is very good. The business environment is still very friendly in a sense, otherwise it would not be possible for my colleagues to put such a big leak on me when I first came here. As you can see, there are so many storefronts in the whole street, just count me. It was the simplest thing, but it turned out to be such a good thing. And I was allowed to receive it. I can only say thanks to my colleagues for letting me deal with it." When Dal Leon heard this, he laughed loudly and said, Okay. Boss Jew has this kind of insight, he is indeed not an ordinary person. If you have the opportunity to visit East Cliff in the future, you will definitely contact me and have a few drinks at my home." "Okay." Peter nodded and said, "Definitely." Dal Leon smiled and said, "It's getting late, I'll take my leave. Goodbye." Dal Leon and his party turned and left the shop, while the vendor was still standing there blankly. Looking at their retreating figures, the whole person felt like mourning. Peter saw that he seemed to have lost his soul, so he returned his mobile phone to him and said coldly, "We agreed on the points of the agreement, but not only did you not abide by it, you also wanted to undermine me. Since you are unkind, then don't blame me for being unjust. From now on, we should not have anything to do with each other. And we should not talk to each other when we meet." The vendor was so angry that he wanted to die, but when he returned the phone, he quickly grabbed it and ran out. As soon as he went out, he immediately called Manager Chen. Manager Chen had just arrived at the antique shop at this time, and before his Bu.tt was hot, he received a call. As soon as the phone call came through, he quickly asked, "How is Lang Yun's situation? Have you found out any information?" The vendor was so depressed that he burst into tears and said with sobs, "Chen. Manager Chen, Manager Chen." Manager Chen was startled and said quickly, "Don't you know what to say? What the H3LL are you crying for? It's like you are dead." The vendor cried and said, "Manager Chen, I can't control, I feel so bad." "What's wrong?" Manager Chen angrily put the half-smoked cigarette into the ashtray. Inside, he poked it a few times, destroyed it, and urged impatiently, "You better get to the point in the next fucking sentence, otherwise drop the FQig call." Getting to the point, the vendor mumbled something through sobs and then cried and said, "Okay. I'll get right to the point. Listen carefully. Liang Yun just sold the bronze Buddha. It was sold for a full 20 million. Manager Chen's body went limp. He slid directly from the sofa and sat on the ground. Ignoring the pain in his BU.TT, he subconsciously asked loudly, "How much? How much?" The vendor also shouted loudly, 20 million. A whole 20 million. A big collector from East Cliff bought it for 20 million and transferred it in front of me. He didn't even blink his DA.MN eyelashes. DA.MN it, Manager Chen's eyes darkened, and he asked tremblingly, What you just said is true. Did he really sell that thing for 20 million? The vendor cried, "You can kill me for lying to you."